All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling a question that's fascinated humans for centuries. Are we alone in the universe?
Well, we've got a pretty mind-blowing conversation to unpack for this one.
Yeah.
Adam Frank, the astrophysicist,
No, yeah.
had a fascinating chat with Lex Fridman on the Lex Fridman podcast.
Right.
And we're going to dig into some of the coolest highlights.
It's a deep dive into alien civilizations
That's it.
and the science behind whether or not they might be out there.
What's great about this conversation is they go way beyond speculation.
Yeah.
They actually bring in real data from exoplanet discoveries, planets outside our solar system.
Right.
They talk about the Drake equation, which attempts to estimate the number of civilizations in our galaxy.
Yeah, the Drake equation.
And they even get into simulations of how planets form.
So it's not just sci-fi fantasy?
No, this is grounded in real science.
This is like the real deal.
It is. It's pretty cool.
They start off, with the age-old question,
Mm-hmm.
are we alone? In Adam Frank, he makes this really compelling argument that it's statistically improbable that we are.
Yeah,
Because
with the sheer number of planets out there.
it's like 10 billion trillion?
Yeah, that's the estimate for habitable zone planets.
Habitable zone planets.
Planets that could potentially support life as we know it.
Right, right.
Frank calls this a ridiculous number of experiments that nature has run.
Yeah, it's like mind-boggling to even try to wrap your head around that number.
It really is.
10 billion trillion.
Yeah, and to drive that point home, he introduces this idea of a pessimism line.
I love this concept, the pessimism line.
Yeah.
Like, how pessimistic do you have to be?
It's a probability threshold,
Yeah.
and it's set at 1 in 10 billion trillion,
Wow.
meaning that unless nature is incredibly biased against forming civilizations,
Right.
the odds are overwhelmingly in favor of other life forms existing somewhere out there.
So it's like, unless the universe is deliberately trying to prevent life,
Pretty much.
life is probably out there.
Yeah, the math just makes it seem highly unlikely that we're alone.
So it's not just about believing or not believing. It's like
It's looking at the probabilities.
the probabilities are just through the roof.
Yeah, and what I find so compelling about this pessimism line idea
Yeah.
is it makes you realize how vast the universe really is
Right?
and how limited our current perspective might be.
Yeah, we tend to think of life, as this rare and precious thing.
Right.
But what if it's actually quite common?
That's the question, isn't it?
And then they get into this even more interesting idea,
Yeah.
which is that life isn't just passively existing on a planet.
Right.
It's actively shaping its environment.
Co-evolving.
It's co-evolving with the planet over millions and millions of years.
That's a mind-blowing concept. And he uses Earth as the perfect example.
Right, because we have this history here.
Exactly. We can look back and see how it all unfolded.
So we've got plate tectonics,
Yeah. The movement of the Earth's crust,
volcanic activity,
spewing out gases and shaping the atmosphere,
and even the evolution of oxygen, early on.
which was actually toxic to a lot of early life forms.
Right. It wasn't this hospitable environment.
Not at first.
But then life adapted.
Exactly. And that's Frank's point.
But it's this dynamic process.
It's a dance between life and its environment.
So it's not this peaceful, calm planet where life just kind of emerges.
No, it's much more dynamic than that.
There's this inherent chaos involved.
I like how you put that, chaos.
Yeah, and maybe that chaos is what drives the evolution of complex life.
That's the suggestion.
And he even ties this into the Cambrian explosion,
Oh, yeah.
which is this sudden burst of life about 540 million years ago.
So much diversity emerging in a relatively short period of time.
Right, and he's suggesting there might be a connection between this evolutionary leap and the forces of plate tectonics.
That's a fascinating idea.
So it's like,
What if these turbulent events
yeah,
are actually crucial for life to diversify and evolve,
makes you wonder if similar events could be playing out on other planets.
leading to those incredible bursts of biodiversity?
Yeah, it's so cool to think about.
And then they bring up this other mind-blowing hypothesis, the Silurian hypothesis.
Oh, tell me about the Silurian hypothesis. I love this one.
So it's this idea that Earth might have been visited by alien civilizations in the distant past,
Okay.
but they left no trace in the fossil record
Wait, why wouldn't they leave a trace?
because of the immense scale of geological time.
Right, we're talking billions of years.
Exactly. Imagine a civilization visiting Earth for, let's say, a few thousand years.
Right.
That's just a blink of an eye
A blip on the radar.
in geological terms.
Yeah.
So the chances of them leaving fossils or artifacts that we would find today are incredibly slim.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does. We often think of ourselves as the pinnacle of history,
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
we've only been around for a tiny fraction of time.
We're like babies
Exactly.
in the cosmic timeline.
Yeah. And this ties into a bigger picture idea that Frank brings up.
Okay.
The lifespan of civilizations might be the key to understanding the Fermi paradox,
Ah, the Fermi paradox.
that apparent contradiction between the high probability of alien civilizations existing.
Right. If they're out there, why haven't we seen them?
Exactly.
Where is everybody?
Right.
Why haven't we made contact?
Frank suggests that maybe civilizations have limited lifespans.
Mm.
They rise, they flourish, but then they fade away.
Like maybe they destroy themselves?
Could be self-destruction, could be other factors we haven't even considered.
Right. So maybe they're just not around long enough.
Yeah, to make contact with other civilizations.
It's kind of a bummer, but
It is a bit sobering.
that's not like, whoa.
It adds a sense of urgency
Yeah.
to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Right. Because if they're not going to be around forever,
We got to find them while we can.
we got to step up our game.
And maybe shift our focus
Okay. How so?
from just passively listening for radio signals.
Right. The classic SETI approach.
Exactly.
Just waiting for a message.
And start actively searching for broader signs of technology.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Frank calls these techno-signatures.
Extra signatures. I like that.
Catchy, right?
Yeah.
So it's essentially any detectable sign of an advanced technology.
Okay. Like what? Give me some examples.
Think big, like a civilization that's harnessed the energy of its star
Oh.
with a Dyson swarm.
A Dyson swarm, like surrounding a star.
Yeah, capturing all that energy.
Yum.
Or maybe massive networks of satellites in specific orbital configurations.
Okay.
A Clark belt,
Ooh, a Clark belt. I've heard of those.
named after Arthur C. Clarke.
The science fiction writer.
That's right.
Right. He envisioned geosynchronous satellites.
Exactly. And Frank suggests a civilization might use that kind of technology to build infrastructure on a massive scale.
Like a ring around a planet.
Something like that.
Wow.
Something we could detect from Earth with the right instruments.
So we're not just listening, we're looking.
We're looking for anomalies, for things that don't look natural.
Okay.
And they're also unintentional techno-signatures.
Unintentional. Like what?
Think about pollution.
Oh, right.
Industrial activity that leaves traces in a planet's atmosphere.
Like we did with chlorofluorocarbons.
Exactly, those CFCs we used in refrigerators and aerosols.
Yeah, we released a bunch of them into our atmosphere.
And those could potentially be detectable from light years away.
Wow, so our pollution could be a techno-signature.
It's a wild thought, isn't it?
It really is.
Even our seemingly insignificant actions can have these ripple effects that extend far beyond our planet.
It's like the universe is watching.
In a way, yeah.
And listening.
And what's interesting is these techno-signatures,
Yeah.
they don't have to be intentional messages.
Right. They're not like, hey, we're here.
No, it's more like we're looking for the fingerprints of technology.
The byproducts of an advanced civilization.
Exactly.
I love that.
We're just looking for any indication that they've reached a certain level of sophistication.
That's so cool.
And with our telescopes getting more powerful,
Yeah.
the chances of detecting these subtle signs are increasing all the time.
So there's hope
There's definitely hope.
that we might find something.
Frank is particularly excited about the potential of this future telescope.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
The Solar Gravity Lens Telescope.
The Solar Gravity Lens Telescope.
It's a pretty mind-boggling concept.
I can imagine.
Basically, they want to harness the sun's gravity
The sun's gravity.
as a gigantic magnifying glass
Whoa, that's insane.
to get incredibly detailed images of distant planets.
So it's like using the sun as a lens.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It could potentially offer such high resolution that we could see continents, oceans,
Wow.
maybe even city-sized structures on these alien worlds.
That sounds like science fiction.
It does, but it's based on real physics.
That's incredible.
It's really pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
So we're not just limited to listening for radio waves anymore.
We're expanding our search methods. We're getting creative.
Exactly.
But even with all these advancements,
Yeah.
Frank argues that science has a fundamental blind spot.
Oh, this is a really interesting point.
Yeah, tell me about that blind spot.
It's our tendency to exclude subjective experience from our scientific models of the world.
Okay.
We get so focused on measurable, quantifiable data.
Right, the hard facts.
Yeah, that we often overlook the subjective experiences that give rise to those measurements.
So it's like we're prioritizing the numbers over the feeling.
It's like that example he uses, the parable of temperature.
Oh, yeah, I love that parable.
Over time, we've come to see the abstract concept of temperature
Yeah.
as more real than the raw experience of hot and cold.
It's like we measure the temperature,
Right.
but we forget what it feels like to be hot or cold.
We're focusing on the measurement over the feeling.
And in doing so, we might be missing something crucial.
That's his argument, yeah.
And that's a perfect place to take a break.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground here. But there's so much more to explore in this conversation.
Right, we're just getting started.
We'll dive into Frank's ideas about a new conception of nature.
A new conception of nature.
And what it might mean for the search for alien civilizations.
Can't wait to get into that.
It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
I'm sure it is. All right, we'll be right back.
Frank suggests we need a new approach to science, one that bridges this gap between objective data and subjective experience.
That's interesting.
He actually points to alternative philosophical traditions like phenomenology.
Phenomenology.
Yeah, which focuses on the structure of experience,
Okay.
and also Eastern philosophies.
Right, which emphasize the interconnectedness of all things.
Exactly.
So instead of like reducing everything down to its smallest parts,
Right, the classic reductionist approach.
we need to kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture
Embrace the whole.
and recognize that the observer, like us,
Yes.
plays a role in shaping reality.
We're not just passive bystanders.
We're part of the equation.
Exactly. And the shift in perspective,
Yeah.
it could open up all these new avenues of scientific exploration.
That's exciting.
It really is, leading to breakthroughs we can't even imagine yet,
It's like our current way of thinking might be limiting us.
holding us back from even bigger discoveries.
It makes you wonder, like, if we were to actually make contact with an alien civilization,
Oh, man.
how would that encounter transform our understanding of life, consciousness, the universe?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big one.
And it goes way beyond just science.
Right, into philosophy, ethics, even spirituality.
Imagine encountering a truly alien intelligence,
Yeah.
one that perceives reality in a completely different way than we do.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
What would we learn from them? How would it change us?
I mean, it's both exhilarating and terrifying to think about.
It really is. It's like stepping into the unknown.
They also talk about the Drake equation in this conversation,
Oh, yeah, the famous formula.
attempting to estimate the number of civilizations in our galaxy.
It's a classic.
But it's interesting because while we've made progress on some of those variables,
Like the number of stars, the number of planets.
one variable remains a complete mystery.
The big one, the lifespan of a civilization.
Ah, that elusive L.
How long does a technological civilization typically last?
Before going extinct.
Or maybe transitioning into something we can't even comprehend.
Right, like what if they evolve beyond technology as we know it?
It's a possibility, too.
But it's a question that forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Like our own self-destructive tendencies.
Right. Climate change, nuclear weapons, AI.
All these existential threats we're facing.
And if we're struggling with these now,
Yeah.
imagine a civilization thousands or millions or even billions of years ahead of us.
What challenges might they be facing?
Could there be some kind of cosmic filter that civilizations hit?
Once they reach a certain level of advancement?
Like maybe intelligence itself is a double-edged sword?
That's a sobering thought.
It is, but it also makes the search for technosignatures all the more urgent.
We need to find evidence of other civilizations, learn from their successes and failures.
Before we potentially create our own demise.
Exactly. We need to learn from the cosmic elders if they're out there.
So we need to go beyond just listening for radio signals.
Right. Expand our search.
And look for any anomalies that might point to advanced technology.
Think big, megastructures, Dyson spheres,
Dyson spheres.
things
Yeah.
that would leave a detectable footprint.
What about those Clark belts we talked about earlier?
Those could be assigned to a massive network of satellites in a specific orbital configuration.
So we're looking for patterns, for things that don't look natural,
Exactly. And we should be looking for unintentional technosignatures too.
like pollution.
Exactly. Industrial activity that leaves traces in a planet's atmosphere.
Frank gave that example of chlorofluorocarbons, the CFCs.
Yeah, those could be detectable from light years away.
So our accidental pollution could be a sign of our existence.
It's a strange thought, isn't it?
It is, like we're leaving our mark on the universe, whether we intend to or not.
And it highlights that technosignatures don't have to be intentional messages or beacons.
It's more like we're looking for the unintended consequences of their technology.
The byproducts of their civilization.
Okay, let's say we do find a technosignature.
That would be huge.
What happens next?
Well, first we need to confirm it, make sure it's not just a fluke.
Right. Rule out any other explanations.
Multiple observations, rigorous analysis, the whole scientific method.
But if we were to definitively discover an extraterrestrial civilization,
It would be the most significant discovery in human history.
I can't even imagine.
It would fundamentally change our understanding of everything.
Our place in the universe, our sense of history, our beliefs.
It would raise a whole host of ethical questions, too.
Oh, yeah, like, do we try to contact them?
Right, and how do we even communicate?
And what are the risks?
What are the benefits?
It's like we're opening a Pandora's box.
Full of possibilities and potential dangers.
It's exciting and scary at the same time.
Frank argues that we need to start having these conversations now, before the discovery happens,
So we're prepared.
so we can approach the situation thoughtfully and responsibly.
I like that it's like, let's not wait until we're faced with an alien intelligence to figure out what to do.
Let's be proactive.
It's easy to get caught up in the scientific and technological aspects of all this.
The hows and whats,
But the ethical and philosophical dimensions are just as important.
maybe even more so.
The search for extraterrestrial intelligence isn't just about finding another life form
It's about understanding ourselves.
and our place in the cosmos,
It's about pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and our imagination,
asking the big questions.
and being open to the possibility that the answers might be stranger and more wonderful than we ever dreamed. It's a reminder that we live in a universe full of mystery and awe.
And that sense of wonder
Yeah.
is what drives us to explore, to learn, to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
And it makes you realize that even if we never find definitive proof of alien civilizations,
Just the act of searching,
it can be transformative,
it can change our perspective,
broaden our horizons.
deepen our appreciation for the universe.
It's like that saying, it is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves.
Right, the journey is the destination.
The search for extraterrestrial intelligence is ultimately a journey of self-discovery.
And who knows what we might find along the way.
Maybe we'll discover we're not alone.
Maybe we'll find evidence of civilizations far more advanced than our own.
Or maybe we'll discover something completely unexpected.
Something that challenges everything we thought we knew.
It's a thrilling prospect.
It really is.
And it's a reminder that the universe is still full of surprises.
So many possibilities.
As we continue to explore,
Yeah,
let's keep our minds open, our hearts curious, and our spirits adventurous.
I love that. Keep exploring.
The journey is just beginning.
That's a great place to leave it for now.
Yeah, let's take a break and come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. We'll be right back.
You know, it's amazing how this whole conversation about alien civilizations keeps coming back to perspective.
Yeah.
It's like how our understanding of the universe shapes our search for other life, and how that search makes us rethink our own place in the cosmos.
It's like a constant back and forth.
I think a loop, yeah. And it brings us right back to Frank's point about the blind spot of science.
Right, that tendency to focus on objective data over subjective experience.
Exactly. And he argues that this blind spot can lead to a disconnect
Okay.
between, scientific triumphalism, where science is seen as the answer to everything.
Like science is the be-all and end-all.
Yeah. And then postmodern skepticism, on the other hand.
Right, where it's like there's no objective truth at all.
Exactly. And he's saying that both those perspectives are limiting.
So what's the alternative?
Well, he suggests looking to other traditions like phenomenology,
Phenomenology, okay.
which focuses on the structure of experience.
Interesting.
And of course, Eastern philosophies.
Right, with their emphasis on interconnectedness.
Exactly. And even quantum mechanics comes into play here.
Quantum mechanics. How so?
Well, remember how the act of observation can actually influence the outcome of an experiment.
Yeah, it's like the observer is part of the system.
Exactly. And Frank's argument is that we need to find a way to incorporate this understanding into our scientific models.
So instead of trying to eliminate the observer from the equation,
Right.
we need to embrace the observer as a key part of it.
It's a shift in thinking, for sure.
A pretty radical one.
But it could lead to some really groundbreaking discoveries.
And it could help us better understand ourselves and our place in this vast universe.
Absolutely. This whole conversation has been a powerful reminder that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence isn't just about finding aliens.
Right, it's bigger than that.
It's about expanding our understanding of the universe.
And ourselves.
It's about pushing the boundaries of what we know and what we can imagine,
And asking the big questions.
the ones that really matter.
And being open to the possibility that the answers might be more amazing than we ever thought possible.
It's a reminder that we live in a universe full of mystery and wonder.
And that sense of wonder, it's what drives us to explore, to learn, to connect with something larger than ourselves.
It makes you realize that even if we never find definitive proof of alien civilizations,
Yeah.
the act of searching itself can be transformative.
It can change the way we see things.
It can broaden our horizons.
And it can make us appreciate the beauty and complexity of the universe even more.
You know, it's like that saying, it is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves.
I like that.
The search for extraterrestrial intelligence is ultimately a journey of self-discovery.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And who knows what incredible discoveries we might make along the way.
It's exciting to think about.
Maybe we'll find that we're not alone.
Or maybe we'll find evidence of civilizations far beyond anything we can imagine.
Or maybe we'll find something completely unexpected, something that challenges everything we thought we knew.
That's the beauty of exploration, isn't it?
Absolutely, the universe is full of surprises.
So, as we continue this journey of exploration,
Yeah,
let's keep our minds open, our hearts curious, and our spirits adventurous.
that's the spirit.
Because the journey is just beginning.
It really is. There's so much more to discover.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the possibility of alien civilizations.
It has.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of exploration.
It's been my pleasure.
And until next time, keep looking up at the stars and keep asking those big questions.